Welcome to the Unusual History of Everything, the podcast that uncovers the unusual history of everything around us. I'm Karen Lacey.
And I'm Melanie Dellis. On this episode, as we draw 2022 to a close, we take a look at some odd things cities drop to ring in the new year, including a possum and a drag queen.
All over the world, the coming of the new year is ushered in with fireworks and champagne, a kiss, and for the last 114 years, people have been celebrating New Year's Eve by watching the ball drop in New York City's Times Square. It's a glamorous tradition that is watched by over 1 billion people around the world on TV and over 1 million people in person. But it's not the only thing that is dropped on New Year's Eve in America. Cities around the country really get creative and maybe a little weird, and we're here for it.
Totally here for it. But let's start with the history of America's most popular New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square. The first one was held in 1904, but there wasn't a ball to drop yet. In the beginning, Times Square was called Longacre Square. It wasn't until the New York Times moved into a building there that the city changed its name. A few months later, in celebration of the name change and of New Year's Eve, the publisher of the New York Times, Adolph S. Oakes, threw a party for more than 200,000 people that involved a massive fireworks display as its centerpiece.
Oakes threw this party the following New Year's Eve as well, but unfortunately, due to safety reasons, the city banned the fireworks in 1906, which meant he had to come up with something just as grand to wow his guests. To do that, he asked his chief electrician, Walter Palmer, to help him come up with ideas. After thinking about it for a little while, Palmer came up with the idea of dropping a large ball at midnight, inspired by 200-year-old maritime technology, the time ball.
Time balls originated in the 1800s before there were time zones. Back then, mariners calculated their longitude based on the sunset, moonrise, and location of the stars. Boats needed the exact time at sea in order to do this, and they relied on marine chronometers to determine local time. Chronometers look like large pocket watches, kept in a wooden box to keep it level during rough seas. But they were problematic because they needed to be recalibrated periodically, which meant they had to be taken ashore to a professional who would set it to the correct local time. It was dangerous, time-consuming, and costly.
In 1818, Robert Walshop, captain of the Royal Navy, had the brilliant idea of using visual signs from a coastal Navy observatory to recalibrate their chronometers. The idea was to drop balls into the water so that the mariners could set their timekeeping devices to the local time. The first time ball was dropped in 1829 at Portsmouth, England, in an area where the ships could easily see them at precise times every day.
The captain's design used 2 5-foot balls on a flagpole set at the edge of the water. One ball was at the top, the other was weighted. Just before noon, the second ball went up the flagpole until it met the other ball, so no light passed between them. At the exact moment the mariners saw light between the balls, they checked their chronometers and set the official local time. This caught on, and by 1845, there were time balls set at specific docks all around the world.
And so it was that marine time balls would become the fitting inspiration for Palmer. The first ball he made was iron and wood with 125-watt light bulbs attached to it. It was 700 pounds and 5 feet in diameter. They dropped it for the first time in 1908, and it was an instant hit. Times Square has dropped a ball at midnight on New Year's Eve every year since, except 1942 and 1943 because of the war. The Times Square ball gets more elaborate every year and heavier. In 1955, the ball was made of aluminum and weighed 150 pounds. And in 2019, it was covered in 2,688 Waterford crystals, 32,256 LEDs, and weighed a whopping 11,875 pounds.
That's crazy.
Right?
Oh my God. But all those Waterford crystals, I love it. I love it. But my God, that's heavy. Times Square's ball drop is definitely the most iconic, but there are other cities in America that give it a run for its money. For example, Lebanon, Pennsylvania, which is famous for bologna. I was supposed to go on with that sentence, but I needed to laugh for a second. Okay, so Lebanon's famous for bologna. So they've used that fame to come up with their own very special version of the Times Square ball drop. For over 20 years on New Year's Eve, the city has dropped a 200-pound stick of bologna at midnight. It's like a stick of bologna. So like kind of think about when you go into a Greek restaurant and they have the gyro meat on that stick and they shave it off for you. Think about that. That's basically what it looks like. Once all the way down, they carve it up and donate the meat to local shelters, probably like they do with the gyro meat. Other towns in Pennsylvania drop funky foods too, like Dillsburg. What do you think Dillsburg drops, Karen? Dillsburg.
Pickles.
Pickles. Yep, you can guess. It's famous for pickles, and they drop them at midnight. And Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. What do you think they drop? Mechanicsburg.
Something mechanical.
They do not drop hot mechanics on the people below, unfortunately. I mean, I wouldn't, not unfortunately, I wouldn't want them to drop people, but okay.
You just took it dark.
I know, I'm sorry. I was thinking hot mechanic. They do drop mechanical things or things to fix things with. They drop wrenches. Or actually, they drop one wrench. It's like a giant wrench. And hopefully it's not a large metal one.
See, I'm picturing, did you ever see Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs cartoon?
Yes.
So that's what I'm picturing.
Please drop meatballs on me at midnight,
right?
Spaghetti.
They're like doing all of this crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, in Brasstown, North Carolina, they came up with a good one.
Brass. They drop brass.
No. In 1990, Brasstown had only one gas station at the time, and its owner, Clay Logan, decided that if New York City could drop a ball, then Brasstown could drop something too.
Sure.
His gas station is known for selling a large amount of kitschy possum products, so he decided to create the Brasstown Possum Drop. Yes, that's right. He put a live possum in a cage and lowered it at midnight from the roof of his gas station as fireworks went off and a live band played down below. And all for only $2,000.
That poor possum. Can you imagine? Like, I saw a picture of it.
I've seen possums, and possums are those things. Okay,
they're mean. And
they're mean.
But they're still like, they don't know.
But they're still living creatures.
Yes.
And that's scary. I hope he lowered it slowly.
Okay, so they literally put the possum in a cage, like a black iron cage. They lowered it slowly, but the fireworks were going off around him. Can you imagine how scared that poor little thing was?
How scary.
Oh my God.
No, thank you.
$2,000 though, what a bargain.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, and as long as they do it slowly, then it's not so bad. But I mean,
I wouldn't like it. But anyway.
You know what I would have done? Because you have kitschy possum products, do your kitschy possum, like a stuffed possum.
I guess he was going for like effect.
Realism and effect, yeah. I mean, it's just interesting, but yeah.
That town's event drew national attention in 2003 when the New York Times heard about it and wrote an article. But that attention wasn't all good, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, won an injunction to stop the event from including a live possum. I get it. I totally get it.
I get it.
During the years when they couldn't use live possums, instead of Karen's idea really logical idea of using
like a stuffed
kitschy
possum
products
doll
that he sells, like
made
a big
of
stuffed
cotton
possum.
and cloth and
No. They used roadkill and possum stew. Like, I don't even know how.
You know what? I mean, people eat possum stew and they think that's lovely and great. But, like, why?
I'm thinking they used roadkill in the cage, like a dead possum that he scraped off the road. And down below, people were eating possum stew.
Right, but imagine driving around saying, oh, no, I need a dead possum for this year's New Year's Eve celebration. So you have to go and find one.
Okay, now this is a slight tangent, okay? But when I was in college, I went to college at Purdue in Indiana. And in Indiana, there's not a whole lot to do around Purdue. Around West Lafayette. Actually, there may be now, but when I was there in the late 90s, there was not a whole lot to do.
Which is around the same time period.
And yeah, actually, it is around the same time
right.
period. Yeah, it was like 94, 95.
See? There you go.
Okay, so one of the things that my sorority and the bunch of fraternities wanted to do was having the scavenger hunt. And one of the things on my scavenger hunt list was possum roadkill.
No.
We had to literally go find some on the backcountry roads of Indiana, which we did, put it in a garbage bag, scrape it up off the ground, put it in, and bring it back in order to claim the scavenger hunt prize. So,
did you lose because you didn't do it?
No, we did it.
Okay. Go
No,
you.
we did it. I can't honestly remember if I won or lost, but I remember doing
You remember that part?
That's ingrained in my brain. It's disgusting. Can't believe we did that.
I can't either.
Anyway.
Well, did the people like this possum stew roadkill?
I'm sure some of them did, but it wasn't as much fun as the live possum. And so in 2015, the people who liked having the live possum drop succeeded in passing a law that excludes the Virginia possum from wildlife protections between December 29th and January 2nd. Of course, in 2017, Logan retired, and so that New Year's Eve was the last Brasstown possum drop. Nobody kept on his tradition, huh?
No, I guess not. It was definitely one of those like person-driven situations.
Yeah. But I mean, it drew a lot.
It drew a lot.
It drew a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for a little over a decade, the people who live in Vincennes, Indiana.
We're just talking
about you. Yeah, yeah. So the state's oldest town is known for its watermelon production. They celebrate New Year's Eve by filling a man-made watermelon with 19 Knox County watermelons, raising it 100 feet in the air and dropping the 500-pound beast onto a platform or splatform, right?
Splatform.
Or a splatform, as it's lovingly called. The platform is specially constructed to protect the onlookers from getting covered in pulp and seeds or being hit by projectile rinds. Oh my God, Lily would love
falling
this.
From 100 feet in the air. Can you imagine how hard that would hit you?
Yes.
The rind particles.
I don't understand why they couldn't just drop one watermelon and that'd be kind of funny.
It was like a giant,
but what is
huge.
this man-made watermelon made of? It's so fascinating to like see this. I kind of want to go and see a watermelon drop right now.
So it was made of fiberglass, it was made of some
something that can like shatter, but like keep it all protected so that people aren't getting
it had
hit.
19 large watermelons
I love it.
inside. Yeah, it was 500 pounds, so it was humongous.
I need to go see this.
Splatform. Well, up in New England, Eastport, Maine, to be exact, New Year's Eve, as you can guess, is very cold and probably kind of dark. So in 2004, the townspeople there decided to spruce up the holiday by dropping something of their very own at midnight. Now, the town is known for its fishing industry, but it's also buddy-buddy with Canada, with whom they share a political border and a time zone border. So they dropped two things. A large maple leaf sculpture is dropped at midnight Canadian time, 11 p.m. in Eastport, and an hour later, an 8-foot sculpture of a sardine is lowered from the top of the Tides Institute and Museum of Art. Once the sardine reaches its destination on land, everyone lines up to kiss it for good luck. That's their midnight kiss, their New Year's Eve kiss. They're not kissing each other. They're going to go kiss the sardine.
I love it.
Oh my God.
That's cute.
I wonder why they chose the sardine.
Because of their fish connection.
It's a fishing industry, but
But why sardines specific? Probably because that's probably one of the ones that they...
That's my least...
the most.
The least tasting good fish.
For you?
Tasting fish for me.
I know my dad loves them.
My mom loves sardines.
No.
Wait. That's anchovies. It's the same thing, right? It's the anchovies I don't like. Never mind. I don't know if I like sardines. That was stupid. Okay, go ahead.
Well, there are many cities in the U.S. that drop weird, crazy, fun, kooky, and interesting things at midnight on New Year's Eve. And we wish we could include all of them, but we definitely wanted to end this episode in a fun, glittery...
Yes, glitter.
Yes, very glittery New Year's Eve way. For over 20 years in Key West, Florida, the people drop sushi on New Year's Eve from the roof of the Bourbon Street Pub. So don't worry, it's not raw fish.
Thank God.
It's a drag queen named Sushi, and she's sitting in a large fiberglass red stiletto shoe as she is lowered down into the throngs of people celebrating below.
That's totally how I would do it.
Yeah.
I would just put me in a red
glittery shoe
stiletto and let me sit there and just lower me slowly down as my fans scream scream and yell and throw glitter at me.
I love it.
I love it. How fun.
That is fun. I like that. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, for 20 years she's been doing that.
Well, that brings us to the end of our episode. You can follow the Unusual History of Everything podcast on Instagram at the Unusual History of Everything and on Facebook at the Unusual History of Everything podcast. Find our show notes on www.musecuratorial.com. The Unusual History of Everything is written, produced, and directed by Melanie Dellis and Karen Lacey.
New episodes air every Tuesday on all podcast outlets. Be sure to subscribe to us so you never miss an episode and leave us a review. You can also see photos from our episodes and more on our website, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for listening. I'm Melanie Dellis.
And I'm Karen Lacey, your host for the Unusual History of Everything.
Da, 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 da.